This new batch of civil lawsuits accuses Sean Combs of drugging and sexually assaulting 7 more alleged victims. One of them says she was 13 at the time, and certain celebrities were there watching.
As the trial of Diddy Combs unfolded, a dramatic clash erupted within the courtroom. Diddy's cocky attitude, notorious confidence, and audacious swagger clashed against the unyielding authority of the presiding judge, igniting a fiery display of contempt. But Diddy's disrespect proved to be a costly mistake, as the judges became furious during the court trial. Will Diddy's attitude in court prove to be his undoing? Join us as we unravel the dramatic events that ensued after the clash and discover whether the self-assured hip-hop mogul can salvage his reputation and avoid a potential conviction. Recently, it just seemed like Diddy's atrocities keep multiplying at the wake of each new day. And now, everyone just wonders about his fate, since he's not just battling with legal cases, but with the judge himself. Stay tuned to know if he can still find his way around bail after his demeaning moments with the judge. The gravity of Diddy's case and what interests the people. The atmosphere in the courtroom was normal until Diddy arrived, drastically changing the dynamics of the proceedings. Famous celebrities typically bring a special vibe, but this time there was a strange atmosphere of anticipation among everyone present, hinting at something big about to happen. When Diddy arrived, he displayed excessive self-assurance that almost seemed cocky, showing no concern for the grave accusations against him, charges that could result in long prison sentences for the majority of people. Rather, he seemed to believe that his fame would protect him from the inevitable repercussions. Despite being in a position where anxiety might be expected, Diddy stayed calm and composed. At the start of the hearing, he lounged nonchalantly, showing a clear lack of respect for the legal proceedings, as if he thought the rules didn't apply to him. The judge's patience was waning as he became more visibly irritated by his intermittent smirks, which only made the situation worse. This wasn't just a typical courtroom. It was a federal court with a seasoned judge known for his direct style. The disapproval of the judge was clearly felt, indicating that Diddy's nonchalant attitude was harming his case. Finally, the judge got to a breaking point after waiting for Diddy to become more serious. The judge banged his gavel loudly, making a sharp sound that echoed in the courtroom, drawing all eyes to him. An evident sensation rippled through the room as the judge leaned in, focusing his eyes on Diddy. He gave a speech to Diddy that was tough and unforgettable, clearly stating that this was no small issue. This wasn't an awards show or a music video, it was a formal legal event, and Diddy had to behave appropriately. The seriousness of the charges that Diddy was facing was highlighted by the judge, as they could greatly impact his life. The consequences went further than just Diddy. They included the people affected by what he did and the necessity for justice to be maintained. The judge sounded firm and fatherly, but his frustration was clear in his voice. Diddy's lack of familiarity with such direct reprimand was obvious from his visible frustration and anger. Diddy seemed surprised for a moment, caught off guard by the direct confrontation. Nevertheless, that expression soon disappeared, replaced by an attitude indicating he thought he could ignore the situation. The atmosphere suddenly changed at this particular moment. The judge, now completely involved, started listing the reasons why Diddy's behavior was unacceptable. He expressed the importance of respect in the courtroom and criticized Diddy's behavior as disrespectful to everyone present. The tension in the room increased with every comment, as onlookers waited anxiously for Diddy's reply. However, Diddy stayed sitting down, projecting an air of superiority that was maddening considering the high stakes. The judge repeated the severity of the accusations against Diddy, which encompassed a range of claims and concerns. The accusations were grave, carrying the potential for extended imprisonment. However, Diddy stayed calm, displaying no indication of being disturbed and appearing to be oblivious to the gravity of the situation. Observing him was akin to witnessing a train wreck unfold in slow motion. The inevitability of the situation deteriorating was clear, yet one couldn't turn their gaze elsewhere. At one moment, Diddy's attorney attempted to intervene, maybe to diffuse the tension, yet the judge disregarded this move, signaling to halt the lawyer and refocus on Diddy. The judge made it personal by showing his disapproval of Diddy's laid-back demeanor. He made sure to enforce the law, and Diddy's popularity did not sway him in his courtroom. The judge appeared to be a symbol for all those previously harmed by celebrities, reminding Diddy that even music industry elites must follow the law. A distinct shift occurred in the atmosphere of the courtroom, with the previously silent audience now seeming to support the judge and wishing to have Diddy face consequences. Diddy's confidence wavered momentarily after being affected by the judge's comments. However, he quickly regained his calmness, understating the seriousness of the situation as if it was merely a performance. Watching this display was incredibly irritating. There existed an individual who had been afforded every possible privilege in life, yet behaved as though the established rules were irrelevant to him. The judge, undeterred, continued to articulate the tangible repercussions of Diddy's actions on real individuals. He highlighted the potential devastation that such allegations could inflict on others, emphasizing that they could irrevocably alter lives. In stark contrast, Diddy appeared to treat the matter as a trivial jest. This served as a stark reminder that for some, the universe seems to revolve solely around their own existence, or at least they perceive it that way. However, the judge was present to underscore that reality operates under different principles. As the judge concluded his address, a noticeable sense of relief permeated the room, as if the audience had collectively exhaled, anticipating the moment when someone would finally confront Diddy. The judge had fulfilled that role. Yet Diddy remained seated, still smirking, seemingly oblivious to the gravity of the situation. It was almost surreal to witness such a profound disconnection from reality. It was as if he inhabited a separate realm where consequences were non-existent. Nevertheless, this time, consequences were indeed present, and the judge made it unequivocally clear that Diddy would have to confront them, regardless of his preferences. This situation was far from resolved. The judge had established a definitive boundary, placing Diddy on the incorrect side of it. The pressing question now was how far Diddy would go to uphold his arrogance. Would he finally comprehend the seriousness of the circumstances? Or would he persist in his belief that it was all inconsequential? Only time would reveal the answer as we unveil the judge's immediate action. The judge's response to Diddy's attitude. After the heated exchange with the judge, one could anticipate that Diddy would realize the seriousness of his situation. Nevertheless, we are talking about Diddy. He is not someone who gives in easily. Actually, the confrontation with the judge seemed to energize him even more. Before long, Diddy's legal team was ready to launch a thorough appeal against the bail denial. Diddy was determined to avoid staying in jail so he could continue his important pursuits and maintain his reputation. As a result, he looked to improve his legal representation. Although one could think his current legal team is enough, Diddy chose to hire two well-known attorneys to foster his defense. These lawyers were not average. They were known for their skill in helping prestigious clients in risky scenarios. Included in the group were Anthony Rico, a renowned trial lawyer known for his expertise in helping clients out of tough situations, and Alexander Shapiro, who was well regarded for his handling of important appeals. As a united front, they came together to create Diddy's top-notch legal team, handpicked to address the wide range of accusations against him. However, even with the quality of his legal representation, Diddy faced a considerable obstacle. His bail appeal involved not only being released before the trial, but also proving he was not a danger to others and would follow the release conditions. This factor significantly added complexity to the situation. His lawyers tried to show him as a harmless person, promising to the court that he would be ready to pay a significant bail fee, possibly reaching $50 million. This significant amount of money grabbed everyone's focus and caused tension as Diddy's lawyers made their case, using numbers and guarantees to try and sway the judge's ruling. Nevertheless, the prosecution remained firm in their position, presenting a wide range of arguments that emphasized their conviction of Diddy's ongoing danger to society. They had their own solid proof that showed a completely different image of Diddy. The prosecution argued that he wasn't just a public figure trying to defend himself. Instead, he was someone who had shown a tendency to use others to meet his goals before. Claims emerged that during his time in prison, he allegedly made efforts to contact witnesses, with the intention of either bribing them to remain silent or encouraging them to change their statements. If proven true, these claims would suggest that Diddy was not only fighting for his freedom, but also making significant efforts to protect his image. Moreover, the prosecution claimed that Diddy's fame gave him a special edge in avoiding legal consequences. They pointed out the wide range of assets he had access to, such as his clothing collection and drink label, indicating that he had used his riches before to protect himself from responsibility. This scenario went beyond just financial means. It included the rumored deliberate utilization of his riches to control the story revolving around him, guaranteeing his immunity from any accusations. Diddy was someone who would do whatever it takes to maintain his empire. The judge did not respond favorably to this decision. Upon reviewing the arguments, the judge seemed doubtful that Diddy would avoid more legal problems if granted bail. With the numerous accusations against him, it is clear why the judge considered the possibility of Diddy being released as a major concern. The judge carefully examined all evidence presented, including Diddy's legal team's assurances and the prosecution's claims, and concluded to refuse bail again. Diddy reacted to the decision with a lack of composure. Used to getting what he wanted, he was not just rejected once, but twice. However, his legal team quickly filed another appeal, showing their determination to strongly challenge the decision with the help of more resources. Nevertheless, as each bail request was denied, it became more apparent that Diddy was facing more serious problems than he had originally realized. Interestingly, the public opinion was changing during this ordeal. At first, many people thought Diddy would quickly secure his release due to his industry status and wide connections. However, as more details came to light, it became harder for the public to ignore the seriousness of the allegations against him. Furthermore, his attitude in the courtroom, implying a sense of being unbeatable, failed to attract sympathy from the public. The media coverage surrounding Diddy's court appearances was incessant, resembling a circus atmosphere characterized by flashing cameras and reporters vying for the latest information. It is important to note that Diddy's behavior did not aid his situation. Rather, his attempts to downplay the seriousness of the proceedings only added more public scrutiny. Observers began to question his innocence, wondering why he did not approach the situation with greater gravity and respect for the judicial process. This tendency to perform, even when it was counterproductive, is emblematic of Diddy's persona. Additionally, the narrative was further complicated by a multitude of individuals coming forward with various allegations and accounts, each more sensational than the last. This included former associates, industry insiders, and even individuals who claimed to have witnessed actions that were truly astonishing. The situation had escalated dramatically, as if a dam had burst, leading to a surge of commentary regarding Diddy. The court proceedings extended beyond his individual case, encompassing the repercussions of long-standing speculation and gossip. Following the unsuccessful attempts to secure bail, it became evident that Diddy was facing a protracted struggle. His challenges were not limited to the legal charges. He was also confronting a judicial system that appeared impervious to his celebrity status and financial resources, a fact underscored by the judge's firm stance. As new evidence emerged, the stakes intensified, shifting the focus from merely obtaining bail to the more pressing concern of preserving any semblance of his public image. Despite experiencing 2 bail denials, Diddy maintained a sudden confidence, which some might interpret as sheer arrogance. He continued to project an air of control, even as the circumstances around him grew increasingly precarious. Each unexpected development contributed to a narrative that resembled a gripping drama, with an uncertain resolution looming ahead. When we thought Diddy has done it all, then he sets out to do the most. Keep watching to know Diddy's behavior that caused an outburst from the judge. The moment the judge couldn't take it again. After the recent court developments, it is possible that Diddy would start to feel the gravity of the situation. Nevertheless, he was getting ready for his third try at obtaining bail. He was not backing down, but instead, the obstacles he encountered appeared to strengthen his determination. At this point, the situation went beyond his individual liberty. It included the wider consequences of the accusations against him, the accounts of witnesses, and the media frenzy surrounding it. The stakes had increased significantly. Standing before the judge with his legal team by his side once again, they were ready to introduce fresh arguments and creative tactics to convince the court that Diddy deserved to be released on bail until his trial. This specific court hearing had a noticeable feeling of tension, as if everyone there was expecting the seriousness of the events. It was clear that this third try was crucial. If it failed, Diddy would likely stay in prison for a long time. Diddy walked into the courtroom with his usual confidence, but there was a noticeable change in the atmosphere. The judge's attitude indicated a preparedness to address the situation more firmly. After being deceived by Diddy before, the judge seemed determined to prevent any future letdowns. As the legal proceedings began, Diddy's lawyers used all available strategies to depict him as a person caught in a string of baseless accusations. They emphasized his important accomplishments in the music business, his charitable activities, and his role as a beneficial presence in the society. They were determined to reaffirm their support for Diddy following all court requirements, with no hesitations. They begged the judge fervently, imploring him to see Diddy as a victim of his situation rather than as someone facing some of the most serious accusations possible. Nevertheless, the prosecution remained firm in their position. With determination, they walked into the courtroom prepared to challenge every assertion presented by Diddy's lawyers. They pointed out the growing accusations, hinting at the proof they had gathered. Conversations about witness tampering and the risks of allowing individuals like Diddy to go free were common. It was clear that they were not just keeping him in prison for the sake of it. They truly thought he posed a serious threat and were ready to do whatever it took to keep him locked up. Next arrived the much-awaited moment, the decision of the judge. The courtroom was filled with a noticeable silence as he started to talk, his serious and almost somber tone explaining his reasons for denying bail before. He made it obvious with his harsh words that he took this decision seriously and understood the seriousness of the situation. The judge further examined the main topic by addressing Diddy's actions not just in the courtroom, but in his overall life as well. He commented on how Diddy seemed to think he was invincible, as if he could handle the crisis without any worry. In the end, the judge focused on the core issue, Diddy's behavior. Although he didn't say it outright, it was clear that he saw Diddy as his biggest rival. His difficulties were not just a result of the accusations, but were made worse by other factors. During the judge's speech, there was a noticeable shift in Diddy's behavior as he seemed truly focused for the first time. This change could have resulted from the impact of the judge's comments, or maybe from the growing awareness that his earlier tactics were not working. Irrespective of the reason, it became clear that he was starting to understand the gravity of his situation. Yet, it was uncertain if this new knowledge would last, given the judge's repeated denial of bail. Shock filled the courtroom atmosphere as the ruling echoed throughout the space. Although people were expecting some drama, this ruling went beyond expectations, clearly stating that Diddy's fame and riches did not protect him from facing legal repercussions. It emphasized that regardless of one's status, the law has higher authority. Diddy remained in place, taking in the gravity of the situation, appearing incapable of fully understanding the significance of the information he had received. Afterwards, the media took advantage of the situation to extensively cover Diddy's failed attempts to post bail, his behavior in court, and the judge's tough comments. There was a strong split in public opinion. Some people continued to back him, claiming he was unfairly singled out, while others believed he was finally experiencing the consequences of his behavior. The situation played out like an intense story, holding the attention of global viewers as they waited for the next events to unfold. Discussions about Diddy and his courtroom confrontation were also buzzing on social media platforms. Some people felt sorry for him, seeing him as a victim of a system that worked against him, while others were not as understanding, highlighting that he had wasted many chances to own up to his actions. Some rumors suggested that the whole situation could be a planned publicity stunt to sustain his presence in the public eye. Diddy has always been skillful in handling his public image and maneuvering circumstances for his benefit. Nevertheless, at this moment, it seemed like he was unable to maintain control. His charisma and bravado were powerless against the serious allegations he was confronted with, resulting in his imprisonment and giving him plenty of time to ponder the events that landed him in that situation. After failing to secure bail 3 times, one could expect Diddy to reconsider his approach and possibly think about adopting a more modest strategy. However, this change in behavior did not represent his usual self. Instead, he seemed even more determined, focused on showing his capacity to conquer the obstacles ahead, undeterred by the formidable challenges in his way. It seemed like he was daring the legal system to use all of its power on him. When the courtroom cleared out and reporters rushed to cover the developing stories, it was clear that this saga was far from over. While Diddy may have experienced a setback in this situation, he was not willing to give up. Equipped with a strong legal team, ample resources, and unwavering determination, he was fully committed to achieving victory, no matter the sacrifices necessary. Speaking of sacrifices, what do you think might be his next call of action? As you think about that, let's know what has been going through people's minds. Public speculations and complexity of Diddy's case. 3 efforts to obtain bail, each increasing in seriousness, showed that this case was not just a passing news story. It was developing into a substantial event. Watching the situation develop was mesmerizing and dreamlike. Although he appeared confident, Diddy was stuck in a predicament that he couldn't just escape by acting brave. The stakes had significantly increased, a fact known by everyone involved. Nevertheless, the story was growing more complex. As Diddy encountered his 3rd rejection for bail, speculation on serious allegations beyond the public sphere had started to spread. Additionally, there were talks about possible links to other significant events. Diddy was not just facing accusations anymore. He was now being portrayed as a central figure in a web of allegations spanning multiple years. This scenario hung over his kingdom like a gloomy shadow, overshadowing all his achievements. Other prominent names were also examining Diddy, in addition to the judge, and they were not just spectators. These were people who used to be close to him, now ready to share their stories, revealing thrilling information that had a big impact on the industry. The relatives of Tupac Shakur had also joined in, worsening an already unstable situation by examining potential connections between Diddy and past events that had deeply influenced the music industry. With every new revelation, the attention of the case turned from Diddy's present situation to the dark corners of his history. The media could not get enough, constantly covering the developing drama. Every day brought a fresh development, a different point of view, or another piece of information that made the situation more complicated. While he seemed calm on the outside, it was clear that he was realizing his enemies were not just the judge and the prosecutor. He was now facing his own history, a battle that few succeed in conquering. Shifting focus to the legal team, Diddy's defense attorneys were carefully examining all aspects of the case in hopes of finding any possible benefit. Their main focus was on the RICO charges, giving the proceedings a feeling similar to stories about organized crime. The prosecution used RICO to bring up different aspects of Diddy's past, painting him as the head of a criminal organization, a portrayal that is hard to ignore and something Diddy wanted to steer clear of. RICO cases are known for being extremely serious, and the choice to use those charges against Diddy emphasized the seriousness of the situation. Usually, RICO charges are used for mafia bosses or gang members, but we were surprised to see Diddy being prosecuted as if he were a figure from a crime movie. They were collecting all available information, including previous business dealings and personal disputes, to build a complex story depicting him as hiding more than just bad decisions. The tension was rising, noticeable to everyone present. There was speculation about whether Diddy would testify to defend himself, a choice filled with danger, especially in a federal trial with very high stakes. There was a possibility of facing a difficult cross-examination if he decided to go down that route. Many onlookers thought he would choose not to speak, trusting his lawyers to present his defense effectively, and aiming to raise enough doubt to weaken the prosecution's argument. At this point, the trial was still far away, but the basic plans were being set up, showing that both sides were preparing for a showdown. Diddy's team was carefully looking for weaknesses in the prosecution's case, while the prosecution was strengthening its stance by gathering witnesses and evidence to build a strong defense. In the midst of the chaos, Diddy stayed vigilant, definitely planning his next moves. Interestingly, amidst the drama and tension, an element of unpredictability lingered, keeping the ultimate result unknown and adding to the suspense. Just as things were becoming clear, new events would arise, throwing the entire situation back into chaos. It looked like a game of chess, with both sides always close to checkmate, and whenever one seemed to be winning, the other would surprise with a countermove. In the midst of the developing circumstances, inquiries emerged about the influence of Diddy's fame on the legal proceedings. Is he going to get a just trial? Is it possible for the jurors to ignore their assumptions about him and focus on the evidence provided? Frequently, these situations can be a double-edged sword. Fame may bring focus, but also comes with significant scrutiny that can be difficult to manage. Diddy was used to being under public scrutiny, but this new situation presented a completely different challenge for him. Every word, every deed, and every part of his past was thoroughly scrutinized, offering him no shelter. Moreover, there were also his backers, people who stayed firm in their trust in him, claiming that he was the victim of a plot designed to bring him down. They stood up for him on social media, arguing that his achievements made him a focus of criticism. On the other hand, some had no more belief in him, seeing this event as the final conclusion of a previously successful career. They saw Diddy as the perfect example of a celebrity who had reached great heights only to come crashing down and deal with the aftermath. As time went on, a noticeable feeling of excitement filled the air, as if everyone was on the edge of their seats, waiting for a significant revelation to unfold from this fragile situation. Despite seeming vulnerable, Diddy was not yet defeated. He kept fighting back, standing firm, and refusing to give in, thus increasing the intensity of the situation. In the end, it was more than just a court case. It symbolized a clash between a person refusing to surrender and a system determined to overcome him. This brings us to wondering what the outcome of this case will be. Would it be what we thought or something else? Keep watching to know. A possible future for Diddy. With all the previous developments, it could be assumed that the story had reached its peak and would not proceed any further. Nonetheless, right when it seemed like the situation was coming to a crucial point, an unexpected event happened that caught everyone off guard. The case took another surprising turn with the emergence of new evidence, which had the power to completely change the direction of the trial. All of a sudden, the focus shifted to Diddy's connections, people he had worked with, spent time with, and possibly had disagreements with previously. It seemed like a spotlight was shining on every part of his life, uncovering secrets that had been hidden for a long time. The prosecution was unwavering, coming well-equipped with paperwork, messages, and statements that supposedly connected Diddy to a suspicious network of activities. They appeared to be developing a thorough chart of his life, linking different people and forming a complex network that went beyond what anyone had assumed before. During the presentation of their case, the vibe in the courtroom intensified as the prosecution outlined their argument. Every new disclosure increased the intricacy of the story, trapping Diddy deeper in a symbolic quagmire. The courtroom became a stage for the drama, as Diddy watched closely while his life was carefully scrutinized. At this point, it was clear that the prosecution sought to depict him not just as a person caught in a bad situation, but as someone who had intentionally built a kingdom on uncertain grounds. The conversation centered on past friends who are now enemies, former business partners with major conflicts, and people from Diddy's history who have never been seen before. Outside, there was a whirlwind of media attention, as journalists documented every occurrence, resulting in headlines that varied from surprising to strange, clouding the true nature of Diddy's character. Was he a target of a grudge or responsible for his own problems? A critical moment occurred when a previous colleague gave testimony, portraying Diddy as ambitious but also willing to bend the rules for his own advantage. This surprising depiction caused tension in the courtroom. Diddy's lawyers promptly questioned the witness's trustworthiness, implying hidden agendas and portraying the testimony as a ploy to sabotage his accomplishments. In spite of their efforts to defend themselves, Diddy seemed to display less confidence, which was a stark contrast to his typically invincible persona. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.